Thanks for coming in and being a member or a guest on our program. We wanted to talk about some of the things that your office has been getting out in the news lately. National Disabled Voter Registration Week is upon us. Your focus is on making voting easy and accommodating for those with disabilities. Talk about that.
Well, this is the second annual Rev Up Week, and Rev stands for Register, Educate, Vote, and Use Your Power. And you can imagine people with disabilities have special needs, special interests, special concerns, and their opportunity, the Rev Up, that Use Your Power, that's the up, is getting to the ballot, getting to the ballot box, and voting for those people who will advocate for your special needs or special concerns and that sort of thing. And this hits home for me as a retired Army officer. Is I have a number of friends who have been disabled through the defense of our country, and I have a son and daughter both served in Afghanistan, and they're classmates, these young kids, 20, 25 years old, coming home missing arms and legs and that sort of thing, and it's hard. It's hard to see that, but again, they need to have that opportunity to participate fully in our civic process and our elections. And so this is the week to focus on that, to ensure that they are registered and to make it easy to register. Anybody can go to their county clerk to register. They can get on our West Virginia Secretary of State website, wvsos.com, and register. But this is just an opportunity to focus on that segment of our society and ensure that we are encouraging them to participate fully in the process. And so anyway, that's what this week is all about, and I'm proud to promote that from the Secretary of State's office.
Is this week more about just raising awareness, or are there like any special events happening, especially around the state in terms of
getting those folks registered?
Right.
Well, we have encouraged the county clerks to run their own operations, and so they may be doing something within the specific counties. Our job from the Secretary of State's office is to promote this, to get the awareness out through the media, and which is why I appreciate you all letting me come on to talk about that.
No problem.
And so anybody that either has a disability or has someone in the family or knows someone, maybe this is the trigger that says, hey, why don't you go down and register, or get online and register. And hey, we've got a special election coming up.
I wanted to talk about that too. Just before we move on to that, though, the voters with disabilities issue hits home for me as well, because my mother is low vision, and I know when she goes to her polling place, she's allowed to have my brother with her, and
right.
And she kind of dictates what. But that could have some issues too if the caregiver who's with you maybe has his own kind of ideas about who should be elected. But does West Virginia make a point to make special accommodations for folks with low vision or folks who maybe have trouble with mobility?
Yes. Now, in the regular elections, each precinct is to have the special equipment there for impaired, whether it's vision, so they'd have ballots in Braille or hearing and impaired. And there are the opportunities for somebody to go with those people with a disability and help them vote. Mm-hmm. Some places even have the vote at the sidewalk, where the poll workers will take one member from each party will go out with the poll books and so forth, and make sure somebody's able to vote and assist them if need be. So yes, now again, back to the special election, at least one precinct, which will be usually at the county courthouse in this upcoming election, will have that capability. So everybody should have the opportunity to participate and have the equipment or the special needs addressed through assistance at the polling booth.
Are there certain requirements for polling places in the state in terms of they should be equipped with the voting machines have the Braille and the hearing assistance, but for those who are in wheelchairs, are polling places required to have ramps and ways to get these people access to the booths? Is that a requirement, or?
It is. It has to be ADA accessible, and we just had 101 elections across the state, municipal elections, and we had our observers from our office and inspectors or whatever to go out to the polling places to look for that sort of thing, to make sure that they were handicapped accessible. And in fact, one of the polling places I went to, it was in a community center, and it was on you had to go up a set of steps to get to it, only 4 or 5 steps, but in a wheelchair, that's a huge problem. So they had an elevator actually installed
Wow.
a number of years ago, so you could come around back, park, get in the elevator, and go up. So yes, and that was just a normal precinct in a rural county here in West Virginia. So yes, we are very attuned to that across the state, and making progress each year as we try to make sure that that the folks with disabilities have access to the ballot box.
So this last legislative session, the so-called Roads to Prosperity Amendment was passed, which kicked into gear your office in terms of preparing for a special election. That special election is set, correct me if I'm wrong, for Saturday, October 7th. The state constitution requires any amendment to the Constitution be submitted to voters for ratification so they can say yay or nay. What does that mean for your office, and how much is this going to cost the state?
Well, the main thing, it's mainly to the county clerks are the ones who have to get prepared for it. There's some county commissioners and trying to find the poll workers and that sort of thing. But from our office, we're working with the county clerks to ensure that all the main things are the deadlines, the suspenses for, say, if there was going to be a precinct change or the notifications that have to go out and so forth. So we've come up with a deadline. For example, the last day to register is September 18th. So if you have not registered to vote and you want to for this special election, you have to do that by September 18th. And then the early voting starts on September 22nd. So our office has been busy. Don Kersey is our elections director, and he's been working with the county clerks to make sure they're aware of all these suspenses to get ready for the election. To answer your question, as far as the cost, it looks like it's going to probably be between $2 and $3 million, and the counties pay for that up front, and then the governor's office reimburses them after the fact.
I know it would be less expensive if it had been rolled into another statewide election, but that would have made it have to wait for another year, and constitutionally, I'm sure that couldn't have happened.
Well, I know that the governor wanted to get this started as quickly as possible, and that's why he's named October 7th. And that does cause concerns, especially in a place like Randolph County and Forest Festival and in Morgan County. There are various places where there are festivals that are already scheduled, and they're going to have to... Oh,
is it happening during apple butter? Wow.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Well, people can just get some apple butter and then run on over and weigh in on...
I don't mean to divert from the conversation, but explain apple butter for me, please.
Oh, apple butter festival. Oh, it's kind of like you boil apples down and then you make, it's almost like a jam consistency.
No,
but it's
I know what apple butter is.
Oh, apple butter festival.
My mom used to buy that for all the time I was a kid. But there's a festival down here for
we
it?
have so many great festivals in the state, and he was talking about I guess it was the Forest, is it in Elkins Forest Festival, and Randolph County's having one, and Apple Butter Festival every year around Columbus Day, and I'm going to school you on this, Elias, because it's an awesome festival to
awesome.
go to. So do you have a handle? Maybe I'm asking the wrong question, but is it a simple majority this to allow this to pass? Okay.
That's correct.
Also wanted, you've been in office since January 16th. One of your key goals was cleaning up the voter registrations. And last time you and I talked, I think somewhere along the lines of 6,000 had been kind of taken off the rolls in the Panhandle area. How's that going?
Oh, it's going great. Your county clerks out there, John Small, Jackie Shadle, Kim Nichols, they've been doing a great job in cleaning up the rolls. And yes, I think you're talking several thousand that have been taken off just between those counties. And at the same time, we've also registered 3,260 new voters in the Panhandle. So
wow.
We're doing both. We're cleaning up the rolls, getting the people off, or the names off the list. I want to make that clear. We're not taking people off. It's names that shouldn't have been on there. It's like somebody who's been deceased, or the convicted felon who doesn't have the right to vote, or duplicate names. And a lot of them are the duplicate names that are coming off. And so the names are coming off, but at the same time, we're registering new people who we do know are alive, interested in voting, or they took the opportunity to go to a county clerk and register, or get online and register. So they're interested in participating, and that's where we want to focus on, is making sure the ballot box is open to those people who are citizens, are registered, and want to participate.
Your press secretary, Mike Queen, sent me some good information. Said 64,263 voters so far. Voter files have been deleted since you took office in January, and 20,310 new live voters, and he specifically said live voters have been registered in the same 6-month period. So in West Virginia, that's not always been the case.
Well, and that 65,000, it represents about 5% of the total numbers that were on the registration list. So once you do that, think our participation rate is going to go up if just the same number of votes this time as they did last time. And then you've removed 65,000 opportunities for irregularities, for somebody to vote an absentee ballot or vote under somebody else's name and that sort of thing. So that's what this presidential commission that is going on right now, just started yesterday, is looking at, is how do we do this across the nation to clean up the election process. And you have states like West Virginia that have a history of irregularities in the past.
Right.
And so we need to take special interest here, and that's why I've been laser focused on that since I've taken office. And at the same time, see, this is all interrelated. You've got this Russian hacking thing going on, and 2 states whose databases were accessed, nothing nefarious happened, no names were changed, or no vote, certainly no votes. They didn't get into any ballots whatsoever, but just the registered names. Arizona and Illinois had their databases accessed, and so we want to make sure that we're out in front of that here in West Virginia. And in fact, I just came back from the National Association of Secretaries of States conference in Indianapolis, where we talked with all the other secretaries of states around the nation. And one of the problems we all have is our inability to talk through with secure clearances to the Department of Homeland Security. And so the Department of Homeland Security knows what the Russians and other people have been doing to hack and access registration databases. And think about it. This isn't a fair fight. You take a rural county in West Virginia, and if they are attacked or focused on by China or Russia or another nation state, that's not a fair fight. So that's why DHS wants to insert itself in there between a state's database and a foreign country that's trying to access or attack one of those, because they want to do that to instill fear and concern, raise doubt about the election process in the United States. So I took kind of a lead at the national conference. I took on the Department of Homeland Security person who was their representative. I said, look, we need to get these security clearances for all 50 secretaries of state. And then I followed it up with a letter to Director Kelly, the Director of Homeland Security for the United States, and asked him to implement the process, get the process started to get us the security clearances. Because with that, I now then can talk to the Department of Homeland Security and find out what they know about the specifics of whether West Virginia was hacked or not, what they were trying to get after. Was it our database? Was there, some other aspect of our election process? And then I can build the firewalls and the security backup systems to protect West Virginia. And each other Secretary of State wants to do that in their states as well.
West Virginia Secretary of State Mac Warner leading the way, and hopefully you'll be back on to give us some updates when you get some of those tools that you're seeking from the Department of Homeland Security. Thank you so much for being on and giving us an update of what you've been doing and that special election that's coming up sooner than we think in October. Don't be a stranger to the show, and please let us know when you've got news breaking, such as this whole DHS thing.
I will. Thank you, Marcia. I appreciate you having me on.